Well, isn't it a lovely day today, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you're excited to start. And I hope that some of you are watching this after having been through the lesson with me in the live class. If you are not attending live class, you should. This is still school, ladies and gentlemen, and you are being marked absent every day that you do not show up in my class. Um, that could come back to bite you in the end. So just beware. All right, so today is Thursday, the 29th of October, and we are on session 5, session IC5 in your digital notebook. And your I can statement is I can analyze a character's inner thinking. That means I know what's going on in their heads, pure and simple. As the reader, sometimes it's helpful to know that. Sometimes it's more fun not to know. Depends on what kind of story it is, depends on the characters. But we're going to talk about that just a little bit today. As you can see on our whiteboard, we have inner thoughts back to our story, which means we're going to be reviewing some things from the Hoops story. You have a learning farm activity to do, and the loop exit ticket is still up there because still most of you have not signed up. And there will be no class on Monday. I will talk more about that at the end of this recording. So please pay close attention. This affects every single one of you. All right, so let's talk about inner thoughts for a minute. Sometimes wouldn't it be nice to know what someone's thinking rather than just what they're saying? When you are with them, maybe it's a little easier to tell by the look in their eye or the expression on their face or their body language. But when you're reading a story, you don't get that. So you sort of have to think, I guess they mean what they say, or that doesn't sound like what that character would really do. So maybe they're just pretending. But sometimes that main character or the narrator will just flat out tell you what they're thinking or feeling. Sometimes they'll show you. I want you to watch this quick video. It's this gentleman's actually quite entertaining, and he's going to talk about inner thoughts, but he has a special word for them.
Hello, readers. Today we're going to talk about mind reading. Ooh! Also known as understanding characters' thoughts and feelings. I'm kind of serious here. One of the things that I think is magical about reading books and stories is that they let you see what characters are thinking and feeling. Sometimes a story takes you inside the mind of a character in a story. Here's what it sounds like when a character tells you the story herself.
It was a rainy, miserable night in the town of Roseville. My coffee cooled rapidly in the evening air. I watched Johnny Flamingo, the Duke of Crime, walk confidently across the parking lot. I hated him. I'm gonna get you, Johnny, I muttered. I'm gonna get you for doing all those crimes.
So, how does this character feel about Johnny Flamingo? She hates him. How do we know? She told us so. Sometimes it's not a character who tells you what they're thinking or feeling, but instead it's a narrator who knows how those characters feel. And that can sound like this.
Standing on a hill outside her little village, Lana looked to the sky and the dragons that flew through the clouds in lazy circles. I will learn to ride a dragon, she thought. I promise.
What does Lana want to learn to do? Ride dragons. Did she tell us? No, not exactly. But the narrator did by listening to her thoughts. Do you see what I'm saying? It's magical, this ability to read a character's mind in a story. If I had the power to fully hear my friend's thoughts, I don't think we'd ever have any kind of misunderstandings ever again. How a character thinks or feels about something is important evidence that helps explain why they act the way they do. Now, it's possible to have a feeling or a thought but still do something opposite. Like a character could be afraid of heights but still climb a tree to rescue a cat. Or it's possible for a character to feel multiple conflicting emotions or thoughts at the same time, just like it's possible for you or me to feel embarrassed and proud at the same time, or happy and regretful. Let's take a look at this example.
It's not so bad, said Zeke, examining it closely when he saw my frown. It's a bowling pin, right? I tried to remain calm, but I was totally frustrated. I spent all that time, and Zeke thought my statue was a bowling pin? I gritted my teeth as I forced a smile. No, not exactly, but it's not quite done yet. I grabbed the sculpture and headed to my room. I was determined to make Lady Liberty recognizable. I decided to watch a video on how to make realistic faces in clay. It was helpful. Although it took me a while, I finally made some improvements to my work of art.
See how the narrator says they're frustrated, but they don't show it to Zeke. They force themselves to smile and not display their frustration. They're trying to be calm, but inside, they're totally frustrated. So I guess the lesson here is that the magic of mind reading is only part of the story. You have to go by how characters in the story act, too. But we'll talk about that in another video. You can learn anything. David out.
All right. You can learn anything. I like how he says that. You can learn anything. All right. So the other day we watched the video Be Brave. I hope you did watch that and you remember it. And it shows a young man out on the streets, kind of looking mischievous, and he's got spray paint and he is tagging buildings. Tagging is illegal in most places for a lot of reasons, but not the least of which is you are defacing property that is not your own. That being said, it happens all over the place. Um, and some of the most incredible artwork that I've ever seen has been tagging. It's really quite incredible. But it's illegal and you shouldn't be doing it. So this young man is out on the streets doing this and he comes home and his mother gives him a dirty look. She doesn't even talk to him. It's just kind of like, where have you been? So we get this impression that he's kind of one of those errant teenagers who roams the streets and gets in trouble. And that's how we form our opinion, our perception of him, the perspective we have of what's going on. He's been out on the streets making trouble. He comes home late. Mom's upset with him. He doesn't look like he likes mom very much either. So, okay, we get it. It's another one of those teenage angst stories. And then he goes and grabs some flowers out of a vase and he goes into this bedroom and you hear machinery, like it sounds like hospital machinery. And then you see this little girl lying in bed and she's got an oxygen tube in her nose and he opens the curtains and what you see is he's done this beautiful mural across several buildings with flowers and bright colors and the words be brave because his sister is fighting some sort of serious illness. Totally changes your perspective. He's not a bad kid at all, is he? He's a good kid and he loves his sister. And the only words in this whole video are his mother mouthing the words, thank you. So we didn't know what he was thinking when he was painting, but we probably assumed that it wasn't a very positive thought. But we can tell what he's thinking now, can't we? We can tell that he's thinking he loves his sister and he wants her to feel better. And we can tell that his mother appreciates what he did. And we can tell that he's brightened up his sister's life a little bit because she's smiling, she looks excited. So all of our suspicions kind of go away and we think, okay, well he's a pretty good kid. I wouldn't mind having a kid like that in my family, especially if he can do all that artwork because it's just amazing. So today I want to teach you a little bit about that. I want to talk to you about why authors control the sympathy for a character or they hold back certain things so you don't know everything right up front. It helps you mold and model your opinions, your viewpoints, your perspective on certain characters. Um, Because when you have too much access to a character's inner thinking, you sympathize more with that character and you don't get as involved with the other characters. And a good story will get you involved with multiple characters because those are the layers, like an onion. You just peel those layers away and you find out what's really going on in the story. But it's no fun if somebody hands you everything right up front. That's not a good story. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And by doing that, I think we'll be able to transfer that to other readings. But we're going to work today on our basketball story. Um, I want you to remember that authors usually only provide inner thinking for certain characters. They don't provide that inner thinking for everyone. Again, if they do that, they're giving the whole story away up front, and that's no fun. So pay attention to the characters in this scene. There are two characters in this scene. We've talked about them at length, so you should have no problem with it. Wander into your cramped living room after dinner that night. Work up the guts to describe for your old man the importance of competing against the best. You've outgrown your local run. It's time to put a foot in the deep end. So what if he doesn't even know the rules of the game? If all he does is sit there silently inside the TV, working a toothpick in his teeth. So we can tell by these directions that this narrator is giving to himself that he is determined. He's determined to get what he wants. He's determined to do what he wants, and he wants to go play basketball at this new Omni gym. And so, what if dad doesn't know anything about basketball? He's got to understand that it's important to me. So, there's that hope that dad's going to think, okay, well, this is important to you, and yes, let's go do it. But what happened? So, what do you think, Pop? About what? Right there, those two lines tell us all we need to know. He's just poured his heart out to his father about this basketball thing. And he says, what do you think about it? And dad's like, what are you talking about? Would it be cool if I went with you to work every morning so I could play some ball down there? He'll look at you suspiciously, then turn back to his cop show and his toothpick. So now it looks like dad doesn't really care much about what you're saying at all. And that means maybe dad doesn't care much about you at all. Leave me alone. I'm watching TV and picking my teeth. This is my me time. Everyone needs me time, but this dad seems to want a little bit more me time than most. Most dads might get involved and listen and pay attention and maybe even take an interest in basketball if that's what your child loved. Let's go on. You'll take this as a no and assume the fate of the most important summer of your hoop development now rests in the hands of the county bus system. So in the beginning, you were enthusiastic, telling dad about this Omni gym, how there's just the best players there, and you want to play against the best because that's how you're going to get better, and you've got goals and you've got dreams, and dad just ignores all that. He just turns back and watches TV. So typically, when our parents just turn away and don't answer us, we basically assume that that's a no. Because if it were a yes, they would say it. So now he's gone from enthusiastic and excited to feeling a little bit defeated, but not completely. Because what did he say in the end? The most important summer of your hoop development now rests in the hands of the county bus system. So, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This young man, he has a plan B. He hasn't revealed it to you yet, but he kind of has because he says the county bus system. Well, what does that mean? That probably means, well, if dad won't take me, I'll just take the bus. There's public transportation. I have other avenues. I can do this. Um, let's come back to our main screen for a minute. So, when you're reading your stories today, I want you to keep that in mind. Keep those inner thoughts in mind. Remember what the gentleman said about mind reading? That's pretty cool. If you think of it as reading people's minds, it's kind of exciting because it would be fun to read people's minds. If I had a superpower, that might be one of them I'd be interested in having because I like to know what people really think sometimes. Sometimes I don't care. But in a story, I like to know. In real life, yeah, keep your thoughts to yourself. It's not my problem. So when you think about what we just did, that's it's one of the things that makes a story interesting. So when Dad is ignoring his son, that's characteristic of a lot of fathers, especially in sort of the Hispanic communities. You know, Dad works hard, he comes home, he wants to relax. Your mother's raising you. I'm the father. I bring home the money. If you have questions, problems, your mother, talk to your mother. Um, so the dad might be thinking a lot of things in that particular case. He might be saying, you know, I don't think I want you going there because that's not our kind of people. It's not a Mexican neighborhood. You might not be safe. Dad could be worried about him, right? But we don't know because we don't know Dad's inner thoughts. But we'll learn Dad's inner thoughts later in the story, as we showed. So hang on to those inner thoughts in the stories that you read today. All right, I want to talk a little bit about Learning Farm, and many of you have been in there, but most of you have not, which means a lot of you got zeros as test grades last 9 weeks. I do not want you to do that. So I want to show you how we get to Learning Farm and what we do in Learning Farm. So you are going to log in with Google. You'll go to learningfarm.com and you're going to log in with Google. I'm not going to do that right now because if I log in with Google, it logs into my teacher account. I'm going to log into my student account, and my student account is named SamSam. My SamSam password is, let me think. Okay, let's see if this is it. I have too many passwords. And we're in. Okay. So Sam's going to go in and he's going to work on his assignment. So when this loads, when it loads, it says error, but let's see if we can get it to work. And here it brings up my name assigned by me, and it tells you what the assignment is. So it's character perspective. And I assigned it to be due Saturday night. So I've already been in here, so I just was looking at it the other day. But it will ask you, do you want to go game mode or test mode? Feel free to go game mode. I'm fine with that. It kind of breaks up the monotony of the activity. So once you go in there, you have to answer at least 10 questions in order to get a grade. See if I can get to in there. So here, see, it says test mode or game mode. I'm going to go game mode because why not? Let's do chicken volleyball. Why not? Okay, so here's a little reading passage. And I read through the passage. It says, "Jackpot," Cherie exclaimed, scooping a wallet up off the busy street. She couldn't believe her luck. She opened the wallet and saw that it was stuffed with cash. Looking to see if anybody noticed, she crammed it in her pocket. She counted the money in her bedroom. $25 in $1 bills inside had only looked like 1,000. It would get her to the water park. Before throwing the wallet under her bed and forgetting about it forever, she decided to see what else was in it. She found it odd that the wallet contained a magazine subscription card, and then she turned it around and saw handwritten notes about medication dosages and a list of books. Why did she have to be reminded that the wallet belonged to somebody? Then, the worst part was an ID with the picture of a tiny, aged man on it. His glasses were almost as big as his head, and his name was Cecil. He was a real person, and she was holding his wallet. She sighed, bummed that she would miss the trip to the water park, but not nearly as bummed as Cecil might have been about losing his wallet. So you see how she rolled around in this story. She got excited because she found a wallet and it had a wad of cash in it. Yes, I'm going to go party. I'm going to the water park. This is awesome. This is so cool. And then she makes the fatal error of looking for other things in the wallet. The money is one thing, but Cecil became a person when she found out his name, what he looked like, and that he had a piece of paper in his wallet that had some important information about his health. So then she was like, oh man, like I can't keep this wallet. I'm going to have to return it. So I guess I'm not going to the water park. So then the question says, how does the main character change during the story? Well, it's pretty easy. It says she decides to be honest after realizing that Cecil might offer the person who found this wallet a reward. Is there anything in that story that said anything about a reward? No. So let's lose A. She changes from being a kind, thoughtful girl to being a person who only cares about herself. Actually, it's the opposite of that, isn't it? In the beginning, she only cares about herself, and she turns out to care about other people. So B is off the table. She goes from being dishonest and sneaky to feeling bad about taking something that is not hers. Oh, hmm. That's a possibility, isn't it? So let's hang on to C. And she learns an important lesson about the dangers of picking up things that she finds on the street. I don't know. Was there anything dangerous there? Just for fun, I think I'm going to pick C. And that's the correct answer. So then you move on to the next question. And there'll be another short reading passage. And you will answer the questions. So that's how you do Learning Farm. It's not difficult. After a couple of questions, it will give me a game. So I just want you to make sure that you're doing this, ladies and gentlemen. It is for a grade. This is an assignment. And if you're not doing it, you're getting zeros. All right, the loop exit ticket, as I said, please sign up for that. I am almost finished with book clubs, by the way. I've pretty much got them set out. I know who's in which book clubs. All I have to do is set up each group in Flipgrid so you have a place to meet and talk about your books. So we'll be doing that in probably about a week. I think the other teacher said they'll be ready. So we're trying to sort of wait for them. And the last thing I want to talk to you about, and let me just sort of fast forward here, because this is going to be really important to you. On Monday, NC tests begin. That means you have an NC math test and an NC reading test. They are required. You need to do them, and you have to do them on a GCS device, Gaston County Schools device. The app that we need to take this test is only on those devices. You can't download it to yours. You can't go to a link to get it. So you need to make sure that you have one. I've told you this for weeks now. You should be receiving instructions on how to log into this test through Canvas email. Typically, in the brick and mortar classroom, the teacher logs you in. But I'm not going to come to all your houses and log you in. I don't have that kind of time. So that's how they're doing it this year. You will get instructions. You need to follow them in detail. Remember what I talked about instruction following before? Here it is. You better make sure you're following instructions. If for some reason you're going to take this test, and I don't care if it's math or reading, and you can't figure out how to do it, I will be in our Google Meet Monday. And you can pop in and say, Miss Capps, I'm having a problem here, and we'll get you in. So I will be available to help you log in, but I won't be available to help you with the test, especially if it's math. All right, so that being said, we have no live classes next week for language arts. Your other teachers might have something, I don't know, maybe Friday, I'm not sure. But because of our schedule, you have a test Monday and you have a test Wednesday. Um, but I think you can do them anytime. I'm not sure. The email should explain that to you. But they start Monday. So there won't be any live classes. However, you will have work assigned to you in Canvas. There will be assignments for you, so be sure and look for those. I will post a lesson and I will post assignments. So make sure that you are looking for those things. It is not time off for you. You will have work to do, but they don't want us doing a lot of live instruction when you're trying to take a test. And these tests are important, so please do well on them. Focus, pay attention, and use the tools that we've given you so far. You have a lot of tools in your arsenal already. If you use them, you will do well on these tests. If you have any questions, like I said, I will be available Monday in the Google Meet room. And I hope that you all do well on them. I hope that you work your hardest, and I hope that you do all of your additional work as well. Now, I am probably not going to give you an iReady lesson next week just because you're doing so much testing. I don't think that's really fair. But I might give you another learning farm because they're not as intensive. So there will be no iReady lesson, and you will need to look for more videos because I will be updating you as we go, possibly even daily. So you need to check every day in Canvas to see if there's a new lesson, if there's a new announcement, if you've received an email. Just because we're not in class does not mean you're not in school, ladies and gentlemen. You are very much in school. So that is all I have for you today. You have a lovely afternoon, even though it's rainy and dreary, but I kind of like this weather, don't you? Well, if you don't, I don't really care because I do. So have a lovely day, and I will see you soon.